Okay, we can get started. My name is Heng Sure, and welcome everybody. Darius has been kind enough to invite us back for yet another year. You'll notice that song sheet I handed you, there's a date on it. 2011. That, and I think that was 4 years into our monthly event called Tea and Dharma. This has been quite a custom, I guess, using space here to, number one, enjoy the tea, and number two, just come together and talk about the questions that matter. And the one way to start is if you'll flip your song sheet over to the second page. Up in the top corner it says, "In Praise of Medicine Buddha." And not everybody here is a Buddhist or wants to be or should be, but I am, and I got the banjo, so you have to do what I do. Banjos are hard to argue with, so it's a nice way to start an evening is to sing together. And we've all been. Did you get one? We've all been coming off the road, off freeways and such, and kind of scattering the energy, and so it's good to put it together in a song. So people are invited, encouraged to sing along, certainly not required. We'll turn the cameras off, nobody will know whether you sang. But in future Senate investigating committees, that evidence may be used to, I should, disclaimer, so chances are it won't be. And you can deny it anyway. You can say, I never lie, he doesn't lie. Medicine Buddha, it's the name of a Buddha, and it's a way to kind of invoke a spiritual presence. This is a Buddha, not the Buddha, the historical Buddha. This is another Buddha whose vows have to do with healing, have to do with making whole what was once whole but then got broken or lost a piece or lost its harmony. And the idea is that by invoking the name of the Buddha, the harmony returns, the lost piece is found, and wholeness is restored. So that's the idea. It's a Buddha with three names. Medicine Master, Thus Come One. Thus Come One is the translation of Tathagata, Sanskrit word. One who comes like this, they say. And he's also called the Buddha who dispels calamities and lengthens life. That's his name. And he's also called the Buddha of lapis lazuli light. Amazing. Different qualities that this Buddha brings. So this is also translated out of Chinese. So it's Yao Shi Fo is his name. And he's called Shao Zai Yan Shou, Yao Shi Fo. That's that dispels calamities. And he's also called Yao Shi Liu Li Guang Ru Lai. So he's got all these different epithets. And I need to keep talking until the train goes by. Banjo has a bad press already, but when you play a banjo with a train, that's the authentic folk experience. There's a way to do it lower pitch. Medicine Master, thus come one, Namo, Namo. Medicine Master, thus come one, Namo, Namo. He dispels calamities and lengthens life. Namo, Namo. He dispels calamities and lengthens life. Namo, Namo. of lapis lazuli light. Namo, Namo, Buddha of lapis lazuli light. Namo, Namo. It's okay to tap your feet. Medicine master, this last line again, one more time. Medicine master, thus Namo, Namo. Medicine master, thus Namo, Namo. All right. What I thought to talk about, I ran this by Darius and he said probably okay, is something about mindfulness. And I gave it a title, So You Learn to Meditate, ? And I want to see right away how many people are currently or have in the past meditated, by however you define it. Okay, everybody has, all right. How many people are secretly meditating right this minute? 老修行. So let's see, how many people, since we're doing that, have meditated in a way other than Buddhist related meditation? That is to say, you've done Christian contemplation, you've done Jewish davening, you've done Hindu bhajan, you're meditating in service, karma yoga. Okay, so it's all kind of related to Buddhism in a way. That's interesting, because by asking that question, what I wanted to do was expand it. The Buddha doesn't own meditation by any means. There's, Sufi meditation related to Islam. I had the experience of meditating with the bishop, the Roman Catholic bishop of San Francisco, a man named John Wester. And he went on to become, he's now the Roman Catholic Bishop of Santa Fe after having been the Roman Catholic Bishop of Salt Lake City. And if anybody knows what goes on in Salt Lake City, Mormons go on in Salt Lake City. And Bishop John said, boy, if you want to be lonely, he said, be the Roman Catholic Bishop in Salt Lake City. You won't get a lot of business. Everybody's Mormon. But the Mormons really like him. And after, that was what he said the first year, but after being there for like 8 years, John Wester was just the toast of Salt Lake City. Pope Francis wanted to expand the Vatican's understanding of immigration in America. So they assigned Bishop John, he speaks good Spanish, he's a San Francisco guy, they assigned him to Santa Fe, where he could keep track of a lot of the coming and going of immigration from Hispanic-speaking Hispanic peoples coming across from the South. So, sitting with Bishop John in meditation, I opened up, this is a city of 10,000 Buddhas. We had a week of Buddhist-Catholic exchange and practice, mutual practice. And so Bishop John came in early, before everyone else did, sat down, and he had his rosary. He's doing like that. And the hour went by, everybody else got up and left, and he was still sitting, So he caught my attention, so I just said, well, I'll sit with him, So I kind of paced him, and another half hour went by, 90 minutes. And so he got up, and I'm like, wow, Bishop John, that was great. What kind of Buddhist meditation are you using? And he goes, Buddhist? He said, the Jesus prayer. I said, what do you think? And his samadhi, his stillness, was so deep that I assumed, he was doing Buddhist meditation, and he wasn't. He was going, what? Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. That was how he was meditating, which translates into, Lord Jesus, inhale, have mercy, exhale. Lord Jesus, inhale, have mercy, exhale. So, how cool is that? You know, that's the Jesus prayer. That there's lots and lots of ways to meditate that are completely out there and available. Let me say right off the bat that I want to direct you all to a website. It's called greatergoodberkeley.edu, Greater Good Magazine, the Institute for Greater Good. It's a spin-off of UC Berkeley. Science-based insights for a meaningful life. So greatergood.berkeley, they have a huge section on mindfulness, including such topics as, what is it, why practice it, how do I cultivate it? Here are some of them. How do I tackle my cravings with mindfulness? 3 ways mindfulness can make you less biased. Why you should take a relaxing lunch break. Confessions of a Bad Meditator. I like that one. Is mindfulness really the best way to reduce worry? How doctors can communicate better with patients. Do mindful people have a stronger sense of self? How to sustain your activism. What would Buddha do about the economy? Right? And this is a Cal program. It's really very well expressed and sustained. They have conferences every year, Greater Good Magazine, and mindfulness is a big deal with them. So what began as this kind of, when mindfulness first kind of emerged as a popular thing, it was Jon Kabat-Zinn. Remember what that was called? Mindfulness-based stress reduction. And it was introduced in Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston at the, what do they call it? The pain clinic, pain management clinic. And the idea was, Jon Kabat-Zinn was, I think he was a PhD doctor. He was, in other words, an academic doctor, not a medical doctor. But he encountered these folks who had incurable issues with pain. They couldn't operate or they couldn't medicate. People had to use something other than operation and medication to control their pain. And so he had been practicing Vipassana, and he introduced Vipassana to these folks. And sure enough, he found that there was a way to approach pain that made it livable. And it involved first scanning the body, finding tension. Second, anapanasati, breath counting. And then I think they lie down, and there were various steps. But he changed the name. That was key. Mindfulness-based stress reduction. It was Vipassana meditation, taught in Thailand and also in Burma by Goenka, by Insight Meditation, Jack Kornfield, Joseph Goldstein, and also by Mahasi Sayadaw, mindfulness techniques. So that was kind of the first thing. And sure enough, he got results. And some of the doctors at Brigham and Women's said, hey, that was really good. You know, what can you teach me? So then he started, you know, spreading it in the doctors. And then they said, hey, wow, you know, could we teach the hospital staff about this? And it just, boom. Then I think next was prisons. Following that, I think, was battered women's shelters. So now it's gone and gone and gone and gone. So it's now, mindfulness is being taught at most of the larger companies in Silicon Valley. It's being taught in the U.S. military.
Steve Kerr talks about it.
Steve Kerr talks about it for the Warriors. The Who?
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 The Who?
The Who?
Yeah, the Who.
No, we've established that nothing happened in Oakland last night.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. So basketball teams, you know, professional athletes are learning meditation. And it's it's now, based on Greater Good magazine, we discovered there's all kinds of offshoots of it being taught in popular culture. So how interesting, because you can definitely trace it back to Buddhist practice, but it's been accepted and grabbed by all kinds of folks. So what does that say about something that we need, something that people feel is missing in their lives that we reach for? Now, there are lots and lots of counter evidence. For example, already 3 weeks ago, I was in Sydney, and an ABC, Australian Broadcast Corporation, journalist interviewed me. Hear that dissonant? Hear that? It's designed to hurt your ears so you pay attention. Dissonant train whistles. So she interviewed me on harm to Buddhism from mindfulness. What she said was, we're hearing now about mindfulness being taught in the military. Do we want mindful snipers? That was her buzzword. She kept poking. I said, mindful snipers. She says, yeah. Are you making better killers? Would the Buddha agree? This is a good thing to do? She kept poking at that one. And we went into it and talked, at some length about as meditation enters society and becomes a fad. I mean, it's really, really popular now. Probably after yoga, it's going to be the number one Asian religious import into Western culture. Kung Fu is probably going to be pushed to third, karate or taekwondo or whatever you have, or jujitsu or, Shotokan karate or kendo, that kind of thing. So that and Chinese food probably are, mindfulness is truly entering the culture as something that people do. So, okay, here we are. Meditation. It's become hip to meditate. In New York City, mindfulness studios are popping up everywhere, and they charge a pretty penny to meditate. You have to be, able to pay, what is it, $25 an hour or something. I don't know quite how much in Manhattan to meditate, Okay. So, all right. So that's interesting. And, So, when you go to Buddhist Asia, and I'm speaking of somebody who grew up in the U.S. and learned my Buddhism in the U.S., I started out as a meditator in college. That's when I first got interested in meditation. Then I went to Japan and found Zen, and then came back to America and met my religious teacher. And he was a Chan master, so meditation was big at Gold Mountain Monastery when I got there in San Francisco in 1973. And when I went to Buddhist Asia, what I discovered was people weren't meditating. Not so much, even to the point where, maybe we shouldn't meditate. Maybe it's not a good idea, because it's easy to, quote, catch a demon if you meditate. Said a lot, right? 很容易，说好入魔. Yeah. And what you do instead is you do devotion. They recite the Buddha's name. Devotion is the number one path in Asia. So you recite the Buddha's name, Guanyin Bodhisattva, everybody goes, Omi Tofo, Omi Tofo, Omi Tofo. They don't sit. Now some do, but look at Siji, for example. Siji, boy, they don't encourage meditation. They encourage service, and so. All right, so why? Isn't, in the West, we kind of think Buddhism equals meditation. Meditation is Buddhist. Go to Asia, where Buddhism has been for thousands of years, they don't see it that way. So what does that tell us about us? What are we looking for? And this is one of the things that I told the journalist in the interview was her line of questioning was, has mindfulness, the way it's being introduced, harmed Buddhism? Right? Has it distorted it? If you have a mindful sniper, because the military person has really gotten better in his concentration, and so he's a better killer, is that harmful to Buddhism? That was her line. And I said, I don't think so. Number one, because the military is not entirely made up of combat troops. Probably maybe 25% of the military are actually, holding weapons and going out to engage in combat, or they could deliver deadly harm to somebody. The other 75% are support. They're supplying, they're administering, they're teaching, they're doing disaster relief, So if you teach the military, let's say the army, how to meditate, you've definitely opened a new avenue of experience for a lot of men and women in uniform who will take their uniforms off and be better people for having looked within and listened within. That's a good thing. And military is service. And you're done and you learn to meditate. Maybe the best thing you get out of your time in uniform is the meditation. Number two, I said, how interesting. If you think, oh, gee, we've created mindful snipers. They're going to, you're harming the Buddha. I said, what if maybe we were underestimating the power of Buddhism? Maybe it's the case that you've got what you call a tiger by the tail. In Chinese, they say, qi hu nan xia. When you're riding a tiger, it's hard to get off. They say, what if you've trained your sniper how to meditate, and he's out there and he goes, Sarge, I've been thinking about it. We're kind of related. I don't want to kill. I don't think I'm going to do that. That's me out there. I'm not going to. Yeah, sorry. No. That's against my new discovery. We're connected, Sarge. Trouble. So Buddhism may completely transform the military. You never know. So interesting way to look. Interesting. So with that in mind, one of the things that occurs to me is, in terms of the new fad of mindfulness, is that probably, I suspect, maybe 5%, maybe if we're lucky, 15% of the people who pay their $25 and meditate and get a sense of calm and peace, maybe tranquility out of their experience, maybe 1 in 10 will come back and say, that was really good. Is there more? Teach me more about that. What else is there? And they'll poke around and discover, sutras, they'll discover devotion, etc. So there's definitely at least 2 paths in the Buddhist world for meditation. One is people who are seeking peace of mind. And if you had to say, why are Westerners grabbing mindfulness? I think it's because we feel we're too scattered. We're going out too far. We're distracted too much by all of the things that this can open up to us, just all the different apps and distraction. And we feel organically that we need to somehow refine a center. So we're seeking peace of mind. There's another entirely different path in the Buddhist meditator world, which is, why meditate? Seeking liberation from suffering entirely. And that's suddenly a deep ocean. I didn't learn to meditate because I wanted peace of mind. I wanted tranquility. I was 18 years old. I wanted to get enlightened now, sooner is better, immediately if possible, Like I wanted to be like Han Shan, I wanted to go right for it, and discovered that it's not so easy. It's harder than that. So I just expanded my patience as I meditated. But when I met my teacher, it was like, yes, that's him. That's what I want. Because he had meditated to a place where he transformed something. Something was different in him. And it was clear that it was a meditation that made something different in him. And he had a quality of character, he had a quality of insight and humor and lightness and imperturbability. Couldn't move him. He had this Ding Li in Chinese, this incredible samadhi power, this unmoving stability that he had that I thought, yep, that's what I want. That's not peace of mind. It's peace of mind, but oh my God. I mean, he's got something deep. And because of meeting that one man, I was able to raise my eyes and look at those Buddha images, which made me really nervous before. Here were these graven images on the altar. And I was raised Methodist, and you don't mess with graven images, right? Thou shalt not. That was how it was taught. You do not. That was the biggest no-no. The first of the 10 Commandments is not, thou shalt not kill. It's, thou shalt have no gods before me. And there they are on the altar. Sitting there like this, golden. It's like, oh, the first month in Gold Mountain Monastery, I didn't want to look. I thought, don't risk it. You never know, Lightning bolt comes right through the ceiling of Gold Mountain Monastery. Strikes me dead on the floor of the monastery. So, okay, I realized that here was what changed in me was meeting the teacher who just embodied something that was reflected in those images. And it was not serenity so much as it was stillness. Couldn't shake him. Couldn't move. When I looked at those images, the images from China have a generic quality about them. That there's no personality there. It's like the self has been transformed. And because of that, you can project yourself into them and see yourself sitting there very easily. It's just kind of like a mirror. Yeah, that's me too. I want, how am I doing? How's my posture? Looking at the image. Oh yeah, that's it. Straighten up. So that was how I made sense of it later. So just to say, 2 paths. I think the mindfulness movement right now, we just heard on that website, what is it? What were some of the choices? Better parenting, right?
Meditating your binges away or something? What is it?
Meditating your
binges? There's
binges.
a picture of a hamburger.
Yeah, right.
Confessions of a Bad Meditator?
Yeah, I'm going to read that one coming up. Yeah, she's confession. So, that's one. And I didn't see a single article in there that says, I'm meditating because I want to end birth and death. It wasn't there yet, But it will be, I think, over time. People are going to go, something opened inside. And I just, So, yeah. Now, just for a little reality check. Bill, I won't ask you, but I may be not the oldest guy in the room, but certainly one of the oldest guys in the room. There's a couple old guys in the room. The rest of you, you're all whippersnappers, all you young guys out there, guys and girls. What about when the baby boomers retire? I'm predicting there's going to be this huge tsunami, no exaggeration, of interest in meditation when the baby boomers have retired by 2 or 3 or 4 years and golf just doesn't do it anymore. Beyond golf, like golf is great, good game, but it's like you can only, and put it in the winter. Can't play golf in the winter, Let's use red balls. They do it in Ohio. You hit red golf ball. So what are they going to do? They're going to go, hey, tell me about this meditation stuff, this mindfulness stuff, All these old people whose work life is now tapered off are going to want to do something to fill their time. They're going to look at meditation. That's really interesting. So there's going to be this big surge of interest. And we're going to, I think, be busy teaching people how to watch their minds, you know. And when I was a brand new Berkeley student in 1971, TM was the hot meditation. It was pretty much the, other than Zen, Zazen, Transcendental Meditation, as taught by the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, was the thing. Remember that, Bill? And you paid your money. At first it was free. And you got your mantra, and you weren't supposed to tell anybody your mantra. Could not, you know. Then, and mantra was something like "ying." It was a sound. It was a mantra sound, you know, and you had to keep it secret. And people meditated, 15 minutes twice a day, and profound changes happened. People really found that little bit of focus made a big difference in their lives. Athletes improved their free throw percentage, Moms were better parents. Dads were better employees, or the other way around. Mom were the employees, dad were the parent. And students improved their test scores, just by 15 minutes twice a day with this method. And what occurs to me is that it's really simple, which is to say, everything about the marketplace pulls us out through our senses into contact with the world. You see sights, you hear sounds, taste flavors, smell scents, touch things, and think thoughts. Right? That's engagement with the senses. Any form of meditation, be it Christian contemplation, be it Sufi zikr, be it Theravada vipassana, what it does is it turns the reflection inward. It's just that, 180 degrees. Meditation, no matter what you're doing, has you go, let's see, what's going on inside? You tune in inside. That's it. And then, however long you practice it, whatever method you have that experience. And once you get people turning around and saying, we're encouraging you to do this now. That's what we are all doing now, is we are looking within. The mischief is done. You've already set that monkey loose. And bit by bit, people will find their way inside. But where in the entertainment world do you find anybody saying it's good and beneficial to look within? You don't. It's just not there. Now we're hearing, oh my God, Steve Kerr has the Warriors doing mindfulness, and they beat LeBron James. And it's like, whoa, it was the Lakers. Phil Jackson was the first one to have the Lakers are meditating, right? And now it's, so it's a thing. And so once you get people looking within, then all the stuff starts right there. You're doing scientific investigation, and these, 17-year-old guys sitting there with their knees on fire, Doug Powers is in there meditating, and then when it's done, he said, what do y'all think of that? And it's like, whoa, that was mine. That's the first thing I ever felt in my life. And it was really painful. Can we do it again? What? So, Chin Hosher?
I think until you try it, it's really hard to understand what all these bars and articles are all about. But the moment you do, it connects you back to something.
Right.
You remember.
Yeah, that's the key word that I was looking for. I was saying all the mischief begins. But that's kind of a facetious way to say it. The more useful way to say it is, once you allow your senses to disconnect, even briefly, from the world, you reconnect inside. The connection is made. And it may be painful, it might be confusing or murky and kind of, but there's a sense of, whoa, that's more real than anything I've met outside so far. That's really me, And the other stuff is so unreliable. You think it's there, and then, it turns out that advertising, when you brought that brand of toothpaste, it didn't bring you love that you were looking for, that you were, and the best was cigarette advertising, right? Oasis takes you away, No, it doesn't. It gives you cancer, They're lying to me, And
long term.
it takes you that's right, very quickly, you're right, yeah. So, oh my goodness, yeah. So, Pablo, you remember what it was? Is it?
Yeah.
Is your question still valid?
It's actually threefold.
Okay, go for it. Yeah.
There, I would like to see it the same way. Speaking of the baby boomers retiring, you said that it's your prediction is that they will endorse turn towards mindfulness. And my perspective is that isn't this like the most difficult time to meditate ever? They're, in
When their
history?
bodies are older, you mean?
No.
What
the history
time?
Of the world.
Oh, in the history of the world. Oh.
Like this time with, with all this technology and distractions.
Mm-hmm. It could be, and yet it's the most necessary time to balance it.
And with the alternatives of virtual reality, where you can just push a button and go into a different world, why would somebody choose to meditate, which is hard work?
Mm-hmm.
So, that's my first question.
Okay, got it. So I would say here's the best person to ask, because without any preconceptions, he did it. And here was all your classmates. There was this group. Brendan is just one of a bunch of about 7 guys, all of whom came from that class or the class before you or after you.
That was that, and maybe a little after. But
yeah, and they're still together. They connected in the monastery over this experience and came back and came back and came back. Because
that was 20 years ago.
20 years ago, yeah. And lasting bonds of friendship. And I would say, and I'm putting words, you can say it more authentically, but meditation gave you something that was yours. And it was repeatable. Every time you did it, it was the same and better as you went deeper. Virtual reality, I haven't put the goggles on, but you're depending on algorithms.
It will only get better. Virtual reality.
Say again?
The virtual reality will only get better.
Will only get better.
The same way as the meditation.
But it's not yours. I think that's the difference. It depends on external conditions. Meditation is unconditioned. It's, all you have to do is that, and you're back. And it's, there's no batteries required. I'm going to toss something else into the chemistry, which is number one issue where I come from in Queensland, Australia, is called ice. Ice is methamphetamine. And it's faster growing than West Virginia right now. And West Virginia is number one state for people on meth addiction. And for some reason, Australia has just a lot of Aussie folks have picked up ice, they call it. That's the name for meth. And so if your choice is, if reality is so not acceptable that you fry your circuits with meth, and then all the stuff, around it, and all of the adoption of the children whose parents have been down for 3 days, and the kids are wandering around with their diapers unchanged, hungry, because the parents are, after being up for 48 hours, and so all the social stuff. Meditation would be cheaper, first of all, less expensive, and way more life-affirming. If you're, let's say you're out of work, you're definitely not winning, and you're not able to compete in terms of sort of socioeconomic stuff. So you and your buds go, I don't know, you smoke meth? Is that what you do, or you inhale it or something? So, like meditation, if you...
I was trying to remember Breaking Bad.
Yeah, right, let me see. What do you... I forget. So, yeah. So, what's that?
You can inject it.
You inject it.
Yeah,
Snort
all kinds
it.
of
Inject it. Yeah, so... Anyway, so meditation, mindfulness becomes a really attractive alternative if you have it available. So, life choices.
Oh, I was just going to say, my take on it is VR and meditation are like the complete opposites, where VR is seeking distraction and experience, and meditation is a refuge in reality. It's a sanctuary. it's sort of, a quietness and connecting to what is rather than the opposite of what is. So I don't see them on there.
Yeah, I completely
two
agree
choices.
with everybody. My point was that
We were talking
towards-
about baby
towards your
boomers.
prediction,
Baby boomers, yeah,
that
my
it's
prediction.
becoming more and more difficult to be able to go inside or meditate or become self-aware because of all their technology that's happening. And I completely agree that meditation is a better choice, and there are many people who choose that. But I think it's what I feel. I'm not as optimistic as you about predicting the future in terms of these baby boomers going into the meditation, because they will have another better and better alternatives and easier that that they can just
Yeah.
escape suffering just by pressing the button.
Okay, so if we wanted to take a step back and name, kind of externalize the issue, it's algorithm versus insight. Algorithm being created by the conscious mind and limited to the math, basically. An algorithm is what creates the program that you strap into and then experience. You're never going to go beyond the limits of the algorithm. Oh, now we're doing skydiving, virtual reality. Now we're doing scuba diving, virtual reality. Wow, like you feel you're in the water. But when you're in the water program, you're not going to be skydiving. Whereas, let's say the insight, or somebody, Nipun, people know Nipun Mehta, service-based, he's in a conference this week in Washington, D.C., about algorithm versus intuition. And that's the intuition was the word that they gave the organic experience. Okay, another way to objectify it would be to say it's carbon-based reality versus silicon-based reality. The algorithm is silicon, meaning the chip, and the carbon is hydrocarbons, i.e., the human experience. And so, do they have to be at odds with each other? And if you want to be really scary prediction, in the future they'll be merged. So you'll have organic chips. You'll have, cyber people. Who knows? So it's really interesting where we're going as a culture. All the same, all that stuff is accessible to people who can afford it. And I'm interested in creating access to ordinary folks like us who will not be out there buying the latest and greatest, and the 10% will be in their sky cars while everybody else is struggling to find food. So, anyway, got a song. Music break. The new one. It's called Breathing In, Breathing Out. And this is not on the sheet, sorry. This is the new one. It's from the Shurangama Sutra. And I was at the Parliament of World's Religions in Melbourne, 2009. And the Roman Catholic representative of interfaith to the Vatican, Father William Skudlaric, said, we're going to talk about Catholic meditation, and I've got music. Some meditative songs that go way back. Do you have anything like that? And I said, well, not specifically. We've got lots of devotion, lots of Guanyin Bodhisattva and Amitabha and phrases like that. So I said, but why don't we put a song together about meditation? So we turned to the Shurangama, and just the Shurangama, this one Buddhist sutra, and opened it up, and here was the 25 sages, where in the sutra, the Buddha says to Manjushri Bodhisattva, great wisdom Bodhisattva, he says, what's the best way to meditate? And Manjushri says, well, I got 25 experts, and each one of them will tell you what they do. And it's the best way to 正得圆通, they say, how to realize perfect understanding. And so each one gives a different method. And Sundarananda is the Buddha's cousin, and he says meditation through mindfulness of the breath is the best. And it goes like this. Sundarananda tried to meditate, but he couldn't get it straight. So he asked the world honored one to teach him how to concentrate. Breathing in, breathing out, outside in, inside out. Buddha's mind, big and bright. Watch your breath, fill with light. So that's right from the sutra. That's the description. So the Buddha says, okay, just, my mind was scattered, too many outflows. The Buddha pointed to the tip of my nose. Focus on the whiteness, patiently. Observe your breath, how it comes and goes, he said. So the Buddha said, you'll see if you focus here bit by bit, something, you'll see this white light happen here. And watch the breath come in and out. Breathing in, breathing out, outside in, inside out. Buddha's mind, big and bright. Watch your breath, fill with light. So the Buddha goes on to say, watch your breath. You will find at first it's like smoke, then it refines. The breath turns white, then an inner light lights up the world from your body and mind. That's how the sutra describes this. He's teaching Sundarananda how to meditate. Breathing in, breathing out, outside in, inside out. Buddha's mind, big and bright. Watch your breath and fill with light. So, Sundarananda tried to meditate, but he couldn't get it straight. So he asked the world-honored one to teach him how to concentrate. Breathing in, breathing out, outside in, inside out. Buddha's mind, big and bright. Watch your breath and fill with light. My mind was scattered, and I need to raise the pitch. My mind was scattered, too many outflows. The Buddha pointed to the tip of my nose. Focus on the whiteness patiently. Observe your breath, how it comes and goes. Breathing in, breathing out, outside in, inside out. Buddha's mind, big and bright. Watch your breath and fill with light. That could be a sing-along. You want to try it? Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing outside in, inside out. Outside in, inside. Buddha's mind, big and bright. Watch your breath, fill with light. Breathing in, breathing out. Outside in, inside out. Buddha's mind, big and bright. Watch your breath and fill with light. Breathe, let's see here. Watch your breath and you will find, at first like smoke, then it refines. The breath turns white, then an inner light lights up the world from your body and mind. Here we go. Breathing in, breathing out, outside in, inside out. Buddha's mind, big and bright. Watch your breath, fill with light. And the song has to end with a. So that's from the Shurangama Sutra. How about that?
Did you write
Text
one
to
for
song.
the Guanyin method?
What's that?
Did you write one for the Guanyin method?
Not yet, but that's coming.
We're
So,
for all 25 methods.
yeah, all 25. We're now at contemplating the earth element. So, Stacy is reminding me that the winner of the 25 is called in Chinese Ergan Yantong. It's reversing the hearing organ until you hear your self-nature. And it's Guanyin Bodhisattva's method. And the Buddha goes, good indeed, Manjushri, that's the best. That's the best one for us. So it's like, whoa. And when you read that in the sutra, it's incredible. It's really, it's one of those moments where you see what a steep mountain enlightenment really is. Because Guanyin Bodhisattva says, okay, I'll tell you how to do it. This is the best way. He says, first you reverse the hearing. You use the ear organ, and you listen to the stream of hearing, the stream of sound. And then you, without moving, you leave that stream behind and go deeper. I can't do it from memory. I wish I could. But then it says, and you hear that anybody, can you do it? Memorize it? It's, how do you do it? So really quickly, in the text, it's very brief, and the state goes like that. You empty out emptiness. First you empty out the hearer and the hearing, and you still continue, and then you empty out emptiness. And you realize, oh, shoot, I'm not that still yet, I'm not that quiet. So anyway, it's a beautiful section. And sure enough, if you tonight when you're home, you can say the advantage of using the ear organ to meditate instead of your eyes or your breath is this is open 24/7. Even while you're asleep, your ears are still potentially functioning, whereas your eyes are shut, your nose, ears, your nose, tongue, and body are pretty much quiet when you sleep. But the ear is still potentially there, and at any time of the day, you can, right in the midst of sitting here, reverse the hearing and just pay attention. Without holding to it, you let it go, but you turn it back and you notice. Was my ear running out looking for pretty sounds, rejecting ugly sounds, hearing that train whistle, blocking the train whistle, not noticing? Am I selectively here? What is my ears doing? It's a really useful door to focus on, to meditate. And we usually just let it go. We just think, oh yeah, it's my ears, But Guanyin says, no, use that to meditate. You'll find the stream of consciousness and the eternal. You can touch the unconditioned instantly if you know how to turn your ear organ around. So it's very cool. Yeah. So anyway, that's yes, Stacy, coming up. We'll do getting there. Jerry.
What do you mean by stream of consciousness?
Yeah. What is a stream of consciousness? Turn your ear organ around and tell us. All right? Better than my trying to tell you. So, yeah, is it a stream? What is the stream of consciousness? It's the ongoing flow of minute-to-minute awareness. And it's the very, very thing that is pursuing pleasure and running from pain. And it's the thing that said, I'll take oolong instead of herbal. That's the stream of consciousness. It's the thing that's in there hearing me say English and you kind of make sense out of it. 我一改到中文，有一些人完全听不懂，马上就怎么说呢？ because you change the symbol set a little bit and like suddenly half the room is like, what? And I can't even fake Spanish. I wish I could. I told Pancho, do people know Pancho from Service Space? I told Pancho last week that I was going to make learning Spanish my next challenge. I read Spanish is a beautiful language. And in California, it's very useful to speak Spanish, my goodness. One point here about meditation that is, if, when we said there will be, I predicted 1 out of 10 people who learns mindfulness will want to go further. We'll say, what else? That was great. What else is there? Here's an experience. There's a teacher, passed away not long ago, a guy named Robert Aitken, who was in Hawaii. Robert Aitken was the founder of what was called the Diamond Sangha. And they started pretty much in Hawaii. Aitken was kind of like Gary Snyder, kind of like Allen Ginsberg, one of the very first Zen guys. Aitken was a big, tall, very American guy. And at the start, when Zen was first getting, the word was kind of, first it was the beatniks, but then Zen separated. Jack Kerouac, the Dharma bums and On the Road and all. And there was this thing called Zen. And Zen went off and became a word meaning kind of woo-woo, mystical, anything having to do, like Kung Fu, like, Carradine, like David Carradine. Anyway, Zen Buddhism and Zazen became its thing. There's a practice called Zazen. We meditate. All right. In Hawaii, Aitken writes, there's a book called Mind of Clover. He writes about how as Americans, they had their first encounter with Zazen. He said, originally, for us, it meant license. License meaning freedom to do whatever we wanted. It was okay to if it felt good, do it again. That was kind of the way. Ernest Hemingway lived that lifestyle, So you meditated, and then you went off and smoked dope. Or you meditated, and the next thing you jumped into the hot tub. Or you meditated, and you went upstairs to the bedroom of that cute little girl who just came in from Chicago. And Aitken writes about that, and he says, we were on our zafus during the day and in each other's bedrooms at night. And he said, within about 9 months of this practice, starting our first group, he said, we were all at each other's throats, and we nearly exploded because of jealousies, because of broken relationships. And he said, I realized that the meditation part of what we were doing was real, and our lifestyle was going to destroy it. So I looked into Buddhism to see if that was the Buddha's original intent. And he said, what I discovered was that we had, for historical reasons, we had skipped the first step and gone to the second step. What was the first step? The first step, the way the Buddha taught it, was character, then concentration, then insight. In other words, moral foundation was the thing the Buddha taught first, precepts. That led to the meditation part. And why do I say historical reasons? In Japan, where Zazen came from, there was this thing called the Meiji Restoration. Meiji is, in Chinese, is Ming Zhi. It's the name of the emperor, the dynasty in Japan. It was 1850s. And the Buddhist establishment in Japan was too strong and powerful, and the Meiji emperor tore it apart. He took the Buddha images and melted them back into gold and metal. He burned a lot of the monasteries, and he made it illegal for people to ordain in the traditional way. He wanted to destroy the power of the Sangha because it was rivaling the power of the throne. Okay, so he took on, Meiji Emperor regulated and destroyed Buddhism, and he did it by making precepts illegal. You could meditate and you could recite the Buddha's name. If you're doing Jodo Shinshu practice, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, fine, no problem, no threat. But if you're going to ordain as a monk, sorry, that's time is over. So Buddhism was forever destroyed in Japan since the Meiji Restoration. The Zen community, as a result, got married. There's still the Zen priests, the temples were still there because they contributed money to the empire, but he made the monks marry. And so Zen in Japan was a lay phenomena. There was no celibate Sangha, which there had been for 2,000 years prior to that. So, okay, when Zen came to the West, it was not based on precepts. The sitting was the same, Zazen was the same, but the precept part was gone. And if you look at the Zen world in America, it's all, everybody's married, right? It's a lay phenomenon. Okay, what's wrong with that? Well, nothing. I mean, it's historically that's what happened, but the meditation was not based on character as the first step. So Aitken discovered, he said, wow, you know what? We got you could say, a distorted tradition, a tradition that had been pulled off its roots. What the Buddha taught was character first, which was to say that you if you're going to if you want to go anywhere with meditation, you can't also be promiscuous. You have to be faithful in your relationships. You have to be committed if you're going to, if you're going to have a solid relationship, commit to it. Don't bed swap. Buddhism does not include licentiousness as a lifestyle. Because why? It interferes with your meditation. If you want your meditation to go somewhere, you can't have emotional turmoil as the foundation. There's no judgment, no condemnation here. He's just saying, here's the way to make your meditation work, is close that chakra, basically, and keep it solid. And then your energy will work for you. And from the stillness that you get through your meditation, insight will arise. So, Shila Samadhi Prajna, Jie Ding Hui in Chinese. We went to the Ding, to the Samadhi, and then to the Hui. When I met Master Hua, my teacher here, he said, oh, well, most important is to find out how the Buddha taught meditation. And he said, here are some mistakes. If you kill intentionally and then go to meditate, it's going to influence your meditation. If you steal intentionally, it's going to influence your meditation. If you are promiscuous or if you adulterous, if you break your vows, it's going to affect your meditation. Your mind is going to be moving. If you lie, it's going to affect your meditation. If you intoxicate yourself, your blood is full of things that lead you away from wisdom. You won't be able to sit still. You'll be moving. So those are the 5 criteria the Buddha said. You can, no problem. It's not that I will like you less if you kill, steal, lust, lie, or drug yourself. It's that you're going to be tying your shoelaces together and trying to walk. So if you really want to get somewhere, here's my best advice. Here are things to avoid. Then, when you sit, all that stuff is a non-issue, and you can see insight arises. So the precept, that first step that I think people will start asking about, is going to help your meditation.
I hear a lot when I go to like meditation gatherings, whatever, like people, they all express like a frustration of not being able to go where they want to go with it. It's probably, I've never heard about it, it's probably because the precepts are not there, and you're probably, if you're an addict or whatever, or you deal with a lot of cravings for like food or alcohol, whatever, it's gonna be like trying to run with your
Shoelaces tied, yeah.
You might run somehow.
You can hop. Yeah.
But it's just gonna be, you're gonna be always
You never get into the stride that, yeah. So, and I think it's really important to divorce judgment from this process of precepts. It's not that the Buddha, is going to zap you because you couldn't give up smoking while you meditate. It's not that. It's really pragmatic. It's like, here's the best method, and you work out your life as you can. There's no no competition there for.
The complication that I see with what you're saying is that a lot of people have this thing of like, oh, I'm living my life the best I can, and it happens that I just like to smoke a lot because I have a lot of problems or whatever. So they give an excuse to that, and they all at the same time they're trying to accomplish something more. But I feel like a lot of, I don't know, like Alan Watts say a lot like, just accept yourself as who you are.
Right.
In reality, probably you just have to say like, no, I do have to try to fight myself. There you
go. And right in between those parameters is where our stories are written. The Western way is there. We're so what do you say? I'll say hung up on this dilemma. One is guilt and blame, and just I knew I wasn't going to succeed. I knew I was going to be a failed meditator. Before I started, I knew I wasn't going to be any good at this. I've just been sitting here and my knees are still hurting and I'm not enlightened, and it's been a whole weekend, and I knew I was going to be a failure. That's one side, is this guilt and blame. And the other is, well, don't be too hard on it. Go for it. Why not? It's like, You deserve a break today. Go out and get away to McDonald's, and back and forth and back and forth. So here we are. I promised this essay here. I wanted for those folks who came in later, there's something called the Greater Good magazine, and it's Greater Good, one word, .berkeley.edu. It's a Cal, by the way, people know Nam Nguyen. His wife Hong works for the Greater Good. It's in her. This is one of their projects is mindfulness. Here, mind and body, education, parenting and family, relationships, and more. It's really a wholesome organization. They have a whole page devoted to mindfulness, and I wanted to read you. Christine Carter on April 17th wrote, "Confessions of a Bad Meditator." Bad meditator. Good dog. So Christine Carter knows meditation is good for her, but she still avoids it. Here's how she's trying to change. Just for reference, to see if this rings any bells. When I was in high school, my advisor, Michael Mulligan, called my parents to recommend a special treatment for my anxiety. Transcendental meditation, TM. I was a high-achieving perfectionist, so anxious at times that I had stress-induced asthma. Mr. Mulligan was not then and is not now a New Age spiritual seeker. He's a dyed-in-the-wool New England educator who surprisingly became a California cowboy. Picture a balding lacrosse preppy in khakis and a cowboy hat. I dutifully sat with my TM teacher and tried to focus on the mantra he gave me, which, truthfully, I never really understood. And she tells her mantra she's not supposed to. Was I supposed to be repeating I-ing silently to myself or ah-sing? I was too intimidated by the teacher to ask for clarification. I was told and I believed that if I could just practice TM twice a day, as instructed, after 6 days in a row, I would experience a calm so profound I would no longer be stressed or exhausted. Boy, that sounded good. She's a good writer. Since high school, I've learned lots of other kinds of meditation, probably every kind there is. Guaranteed, that's not true. I've taken classes with famous Buddhists and studied mindfulness-based stress reduction, John Kabat-Zinn. I've tested all the hottest meditation apps. I've even given a talk at a conference with His Holiness the Dalai Lama this summer. I stay interested in meditation and I keep trying it because, here's a link, scores of studies have shown the benefits to be broad and profound. Meditation lowers our stress and anxiety, helps us focus, and makes us more productive, and it makes us healthier. After meditating daily for 8 weeks, research participants were 76% less likely than a non-meditating control group to miss work due to illness. And if they did get a cold or flu, it lasted only 5 days on the average compared to 8 for everybody else. What's wrong with me? I always have 7-day colds. I believe in the benefits of meditation. What's more, I believe that meditation holds the key to my spiritual and personal growth, but I haven't been able to get myself to really practice it in my daily life.
Solution is simple. Choose to try virtual reality.
There you go. There you go. Here's the truth. Despite all my training, and despite knowing all the benefits, I've never one single time meditated twice daily for 6 days in a row, as I was originally instructed. Actually, I have done that as part of a long meditation retreat, but never in my regular life. This disconnect is driving me crazy. It is a part of my life that until recently I've not figured out yet. Okay, why, this last sentence I'll read you. The rest is a whole, it's a good article, well written. Why, this is my new insight. I am, on some deep level, afraid, she says. Interesting. So, afraid, I'll let you read the article. I'm going to tease you. She is, I'm guessing, I haven't read the whole thing myself. She's afraid of letting go. This is obviously a head-heavy person, a very intellectual individual, and probably she's tasted the power of meditation to be transformative. That she probably gets to a place where she has to make a decision to let go or stay in charge. And I think that's probably where she gets. And
similar to Darius, I would just say you have all these feelings depending on the day,
nervousness, fear. Will they love me? You know, all these
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just,
Sends me to the
am I
bathroom.
worthy of love? You know, you go and it's not so much like I'm gonna, to use like a phrase Marty once said, like, you know, use my hammer like of positivity to just like beat it down. I'm not afraid, you know. You know, it's like oh no, I am nervous. I'm afraid. You know,
Yeah.
I'm afraid that I'm not worthy of love, or my music isn't, or I'm not good enough, or whatever. All these things, you know, and you just to be there with that, like you're saying, it's like that's okay. I feel this way. I'm gonna still like stand up here right now and just be me with all this stuff that I feel, and you know, and just really try and embrace where I'm at right now. And you know, to do that, first you have to be aware of where you're at and open to where you're at.
Yep.
And so, I think the practice helps with that a lot. You know, and if I might just, I wanted to touch on something about precepts too, because I do think a lot of, like, just to reiterate what you said, it's not about judgment. It's not about some like idealized state of perfection or purity. It's really a way to look at yourself. You know, like, was that a lie? You know, like, did I just lie? Was that a lie? You know, like, did I just steal? You know, he offered me that bag of grout for free, but is that steal? You know, these things, like, it's really to reflect back on yourself and pay attention to yourself. And I think it also gets you to look at yourself like in a way like, why did I lie? Usually all those things that, you know, are like whatever it is, sexual misconduct, lying, intoxicating, those things are ways of like bolstering up the individual self. And I think living solely for that self is extremely painful, you know. And when you start like paying attention to the nuances of your choices, you know, there's this opportunity to maybe just connect with others and feel a deeper sense of, you know, I don't know, connectedness, maybe happiness. I don't want to say that, you know, wholeness. Yeah,
coming
wholeness.
home in a way.
Yeah.
Beautiful, yeah. So that's a whole, you know, that's a very sophisticated way of looking at those precepts that beyond their utility in meditation, it's like it's like the precepts are their own reward, that sense. And if this is the first time people are hearing about Buddhist precepts, for me, I mean, I came into meditation when I thought, why are you preaching this morality at me? It's like I immediately kind of felt, whoa, this is not what I thought Buddhism was. I thought Buddhism was, if it feels good, do it again, you know. And sure enough, that's not the way it was taught. That was my American sense or Western sense of don't fence me in, you know. I am my own boss. Don't, you know, give me a rule and I'll break it, which is immature. What's attractive about meditation is it's a whole different definition of being religious than the one I grew up with as a Methodist Protestant Christian in the Midwest, where you had to buy the entire cosmology. You had to accept you had to accept the entire story about Jesus dying for your sins and washing them clean in the blood of the Lamb, etc., before the causality would work for you. If you didn't buy that story, then the cause and effect didn't work, because it all was based upon his sacrifice. And a lot of my mathematician, engineer, chemist, physicist, scientist friends thought, well, that leaves me out, because my professional training gives me another whole story that now kind of pales the Christian story, as wonderful a story as it is, not to diminish that story at all. But it's like from the 15th century, the church and science split, and they never came back together, right? When the Enlightenment happened, the Renaissance, you know, suddenly there was another competing story. Galileo looked up and said, you know what, we're not the center anymore, that's the center, put him in jail, because that's not the way the story was told. So, okay, Buddha Dharma and the experience of meditation allows scientists to find causality, cause and effect working, because I just had that experience and I tested it and it got the same result 100 times, and that's the same result the Buddha described in the sutra, without having to accept the cosmology. You don't have to affirm that the Buddha under the Bodhi tree was enlightened and saw bright, That's independent of my own experience. It still works. So that's interesting. And I was going to ask the scientist how, when you're, in there meditating, and I know you're meditating regularly, Stacy. So what are the challenges of what does your mind bring you as you sit? I've never asked you about your meditation. How does that work? Do you have to struggle with all kinds of voices in there to get to sit still? How do you subdue your consciousness in there as you meditate?
It's a very personal question.
You bet. On the spot, man. What?
I think I sit.
Speaking for all scientists who meditate.
I really don't take scientists as part of my identity anymore.
Uh-huh.
And I think actually most scientists don't really understand the worldview that we adopt. I think, and when I meditate really in order to listen to myself, I think most of the time we're kind of drowning in our streams of consciousness that are really based on habituation.
Based on?
Habituation.
Habituation.
And I think in order to really hear my own kind of mind and thoughts and find clarity and find a centeredness in which I feel strength and that then I'm grounded, I have to meditate because most of the time.
I'm losing your voice. You have to
time,
meditate.
Yeah, most of the time I think it's very difficult to find that centeredness without having some kind of stillness. That's for
How do
me.
you center?
How do I center?
Yeah.
I sit and
What do you
I
meditate?
have a mantra that I do.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Good. That was what I was looking for. Thank you for sharing that. We're heading towards. It's already been. We started at 7 officially, so we're heading into our third hour now, But I have a sense that this conversation could go a long time. We're just scratching the surface. I wanted to go one time to the second path why people meditate, which was seeking liberation. And we've got a story on the back page of your song sheet. Did you get one, Abu? Here you go. Yeah. This is, it's Master Shuyun's Enlightenment. This song has changed its name. It's now called Empty Cloud Wakes Up. Master Shuyun stands for Empty Cloud, and he was he's a Chan monk. In the last 300 years in Buddhism in China, he's probably the #1 example of successful meditation, I guess you could say. He died in 1959. He was 120 years old when he died. And so he spanned a couple centuries. And the story goes that he was living as a hermit on the mountain, and the other hermits asked him to please go on their behalf to Gaomin Monastery in Zhejiang province, Jiangxi province, because there was going to be a 10-week birth and death Chan meditation retreat. And it's called a Chan session. 10 weeks of Chan, sitting in meditation. And they wanted to get their places reserved, but they sent him ahead so they could go at the end, So he went a couple weeks early. And en route, he missed his footing and fell into a river. And it was the rivers are running high. And he bobbed downstream for a night, and in the morning was caught in the fisherman's net, pulled out, and more dead than alive, but revived, and against advice went on to the monastery so he could do what the monks had asked him to do. So he showed up at the monastery just basically half alive, half dead. And they said, "Oh, Master Empty Cloud has come. You're here. Oh, we let the news go out because our Chan session will be a success now because you're a big draw, So the word was out, empty cloud is here. They said, we're going to make you the senior seated monk. You get to ring the bell. And, and he said, I don't want to have a job. Just let me sit. Don't give me a position. I just want to sit. And they said, but you know the rules. He said, I don't care. I'm just going to sit. The rules are if you get appointed to a position, of which there are like 5 during the retreat, and you refuse, you have to be beaten with the sword, the incense board. Because why? Nobody wants to do those jobs. And if they didn't enforce it, it's very much like kind of like a YMCA. It's a public event, and you show up, you follow the rules. If you don't, you get beaten, because otherwise nobody would ever do the jobs. They, we don't want to hit you, Venerable Sir. He says, I don't want to. I just want to meditate. So they beat him with the incense board just to keep the standards up. And so now he's like 3/4 dead. He's only a quarter of his energy is there. But because of that, he is able to sit very still. The ordinary discursive mind that would be in there running around is like really quiet now. So he's sitting there. And 2 weeks pass, 3 weeks pass, and suddenly he says all of his illness, just kind of like shucking a jacket off his back, just left him. And he was light and energetic as never before. And the 5th and 6th week pass, and now he's able to see through the walls. And outside of Gaomin Monastery is the great canal that goes through China, the Dayunhe, this famous shipping canal. And you can see the boats going by at night, and you can see the proctor outside taking a break, and he's like, whoa, all these states are happening to him. And so come the 8th week, and there's a famous moment where during the last sit at night, now there's a rug here, I won't do it. We're going to preserve the cup, but he's the last sit at night. You have a teacup, and you have leaves in the bottom of the teacup, and the server comes around with a kettle of hot water, boiling hot water, and it's wood fired, and so the kettle has black soot on the bottom. It's a cast iron kettle, and the verger's probably a kid, young monk, and it's like 11 p.m. and he's tired, maybe sleepy, and he's got a big cloth under the burning hot wooden handle of the tea kettle. So Master Empty Cloud holds his cup out, and the kid aims the hot water, misses the cup, and pours the hot water on his hand, right? So he drops the cup and goes, ching, and immediately at the sound, he's enlightened. What he's been waiting for all these, at that point he was 54 years old, half of his life, and not even half. And he's enlightened at the sound. The cup breaks. And being a good Chan monk, he writes 2 Chan poems immediately on the spot. You're supposed to write 1, but he wrote 2. And here they are. This is his enlightenment. The cup hit the floor with a ringing sound that echoed in the air. Empty space, too, broke to bits. My mad mind stopped right there. And then he's got a verse, which I kept in the Chinese because I really like the sound of it. 北自普落地，相声名利利，虚空粉碎也，况心当下息. Okay? Then, here's the second poem. Burned my hand, busted my cup, broken for good my mind. Family is lost, people are gone, words are hard to find. 北自普落地，相声名利利. And then, second, rounding it out, spring is here, the flowers breathe their fragrance to the sun. Mountains, rivers, the earth itself are just thus come. So that first one, burned my hand, shattered my cup, is called true emptiness. He's looking right at the void. There's nothing. The universe doesn't care about you. You are just a temporary conglomeration of earth, air, fire, and water, and all your experiences, which is the karma that you create, which just means activity, habit. Nothing there that is you at all, right? Broken for good, my mind. Family is lost. People are gone. It's like the universe doesn't care about you. It's empty. It's really empty. But nature doesn't do vacuums. And right in the midst of the emptiness, there's great compassion. And look, spring is here. The flowers breathe their fragrance to the sun. It's all a gift. Mountains, rivers, the earth itself is just the universe saying, hi, here it is. Look at how pretty. So prajna, wisdom, and karuna, compassion, are back of the hand and the palm of the hand. They don't obstruct each other. They're part of the same thing. So that's a beautiful poem, right? He's got both emptiness and existence in one poem. Very lovely. So, anyway, here's how the song goes. To get it on the banjo, it's a little high. The register's high, but he won't have any. He's got a great falsetto. You also get a chance to practice your Mandarin. The chorus, the Chinese chorus goes, Bei zi pu lo di, shang sheng ming li li, xu kong feng sui ye, guang xin dang xia xi. Can you all do that? Those of you who are learning your Chinese? Let's try it again. 杯子不落地，上生命里里，虚空放随意，光心当下起。That's the translation of that first stanza, by the way. The cup hit the floor with a ringing sound that echoed in the air. Empty space broke to bits and my mad mind stopped right there. Here we go. 杯子不落地，上生命里里，虚空放随意，光心当下起。My mind, family's lost, people are gone, and words are hard to find. 杯子不落地，上生命里，虚空放随意，光心当下起。Spring is here, the flowers breathe their fragrance to the sun. Mountains, rivers, the earth itself are just the dusk come warm. 杯子不落， everybody, Pete Seeger would say, everybody. 将生命里里，虚空放随意。光心当下起。 Pregnant silence because the mad mind stops. Okay, there we go. That's so nice to sing Chinese and to have people sing along. Teance, once a month, is one of the few places where you can sing a Chinese folk song. It sounds like it came out of West Virginia.
It feels like we're like building a railroad or something.
Choo-choo, that's just because of that.
That's.
Okay, now turn over to page 1, dedication of merit up there on the top, and we'll end with this. Thank you all for spending, what do they say? That's 2.5 hours of your life you'll never get back, right? So spending time on a Tuesday night. Darius, appreciate your generosity in making the space available.
Thank you.
Thanks, Darius.
Like Ali. This is 2011 we've been doing this since, and then about 5-6 years before that when we started. And still just as fruitful and warm-hearted as ever. So by focusing on wholesome things, there's goodness created in the world. ripples go out everywhere. So you can actually direct those ripples as you choose, sending it out, transferring the merit to goodness. In Judaism, they call it tikkun olam. You repair the world with the mind. So make a wish, however you'd like to send out your goodness. Somebody was saying, this was World Ocean Day, was last week, at the UN, and they've now counted there are more particles of plastic in the ocean than there are stars in the galaxy, in our galaxy, only, right? Never mind the rest. So the ocean has become a plastic dump, and only because we did it, we let it happen. And it's not big pieces, it's little tiny, gets pulverized out there, and they're just huge cubic miles of pulverized plastic. And that's just one aspect. The other aspect is that plankton is dying. Not just plankton, but scarier still is the Great Barrier Reef. In 2015 and 2016 had two what they call bleaching events. The Great Barrier Reef is, without any exaggeration, the lungs of the planet. It's the largest living thing on the planet. It's the Great Barrier Reef. It's little corals are little animals. That white stuff is their houses. And the temperature rising bleached it twice, and faster than the Australian Oceanic Survey ever expected. And they had all these miraculous intervention plans to go out and cover the barrier reef with ice and stuff. And it's all too late. They say it's just, they don't think it's going to recover. And it's, you can see it from space. The Great Barrier Reef is visible, but now it's dying. And when it bleaches, it's died. The little critters die inside. Temperature and acidification. So it's like this is our home. Our home is not habitable anymore for so many creatures except humans. But look at what we've done to ourselves. With AIDS, we created a situation where normal reproduction is toxic and fatal, when heterosexual contact will kill you because you get AIDS, HIV AIDS. Like, gee whiz, we've somehow, crossed a line where we can't live in the house we've fouled anymore. We can't reproduce our species without risking death. Gee, we need to wake up. And my answer to that is to listen to our minds, because we're not suicidal by nature. We've run past our conscience. We've created technology that is no longer responding to our moral wisdom, our ethical sensibilities. If it's cool, we invest in it. And if it sells, we'll build it. So that if we messed it up, it's our job to unmess it, and nobody else is going to do it. There's no other adult beyond ourselves, And with kids, oh my goodness, suddenly it's real. It's like, boy, 20 years when your kids are grown up, where will it be in 20 years? So let's start making steps now and putting our minds into this place of gratitude for the wonder of it, the magic that is still there, is a good place to start. So dedication of merit is the way we do that. So make a wish for the world that you want to build. The dinner table is a really good place to begin as well. Just making our ethical preferences extend throughout the whole day. So, sending out that wish to everybody for blessings and wisdom, and may all your wishes for goodness come true.
Thank you, Foster.
Thanks, I'm sure.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.